All right, this is State of Mind, and if you like what you see, subscribe and you hit the button right here. Bap 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 bap. Today, Sunday, we have Lydia Look, and let me tell you, she came in here just two guns blazing. All right, uh, but she's a firecracker, and she's great. And where do you know her from? She did a movie called Paper Tiger, 80% on Rotten Tomatoes, two awards at the Austin Film Festival, and she's just great. But you really know her, and this is how I know her from the hit show General Hospital. She plays Mrs. Wu. She's kind of like my enemy, but my fun enemy, isn't it? Like a fun enemy. And I like
Frenemy, yeah.
a frenemy, frenemy, yeah.
Yeah.
So here she is. How you doing?
Hey Mo. I'm sorry, I just feel I shouldn't be like laughing through your
No,
thing.
you can do anything
But
you want.
while you were saying that, I was just looking at my pants and I was going, that's why I came in with two guns blazing.
I
I'm
didn't
wearing
see that. Wow, I didn't
Yes.
see you had.
I'm not going to give them more promo because they didn't give it to me. But
That's cool.
isn't
though.
that cool? Yeah.
I didn't notice.
I'm not going to say the brand either because
No.
they should give it to me. I'm
Right.
just saying.
But if you say the brand, maybe they will get you another.
Adidas, give it to me.
All right, let's get into this. First thing I want to say is you have a story that about your dad. I want you to get into that. How you let's get into that story. I love that story.
Yeah. So not many. Actually nobody knows the story yet, really, because I don't think I've told it to anybody. So I'm telling it to you, Mo. But I was a kid growing up in a very kind of a strict, patriarchal kind of a family, and my father was a doctor who loved General Hospital. He loved it. He would come home in between lunch and his tea time, clinic hours, and he would have his lunch, and then he would watch his General Hospital. And the
Really?
General Hospital in Singapore at that time, it was allotted a time frame, and it was called Housewives Matinee. And they would show General Hospital and then The Young and the Restless too.
Are you
Yeah.
serious?
Dun, or was it Young and the Restless first? I don't know. I was too young, but it was like dun dun dun, and then ours would come on, right? I say ours, but yours.
Yeah.
So my dad never watched Young and the Restless. He would only watch General Hospital because he fancied himself a doctor,
And that was Luke and Laura?
I think that was probably 1980 when I knew of
It
it.
wasn't me.
Yeah, it wasn't you. It was Luke and Laura. Yeah, it was not. It was the 80s, like early
Wow.
80s, late 70s,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So at the age of like 5 or 6, I did my first acting job, and I think my mom took me out for it, and then secretly we came home. My dad never approved of me as an actress because it wasn't a profession that was well
In
regarded.
Singapore, it's considered, I don't know.
Frivolous or worse than frivolous.
Wow,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So or it just means you're not educated. You
Ooh.
can't study, so you're not smart, so you become an actor. Think about that, right? It's
Well-
changed since then.
But Lydia.
Yeah.
not
I'm
to-
sorry, Mo. 'cause
No, no.
we're actors.
No,
So,
but let me tell you something.
Yeah.
That's kind of, if I didn't become an actor,
Yeah.
I always say, with my mental illness and the whole thing, I'd either be dead or in prison. Because I was kind of a guy who's a tough guy and this and this and that. And I didn't have any education. But thank God I got to be an actor. So, there's a little bit of truth in that. Because as an actor, you don't, and I'm not saying don't go to school. School's great, education's great. My daughter's
Yeah.
going to be a child psychologist.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
But you don't need education to be an
Right.
actor.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. So,
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry you got me passionate.
No, I'm with you on that.
Okay.
So it wasn't well regarded, the profession of acting already, right? In fact, I think they called it a vocation. Now, vocation is a bad word in Asia because it just means it's not a professional. It's like a vocation, like you're a welder or you're like an actor,
Right.
somebody who's not
Yeah.
gone to college, right? So I remember at the age of 5, I came up with my mom and we snuck around and we went quickly to the dining table. And it was a long dining table and my dad was at the head of it. And, you know, we were quite Western style because it was a British colony, Singapore back then. So we all ate with forks and spoons, even though we could eat with chopsticks. You know. But we were,
I
you know,
love that.
yeah, so he was, you know, cutting his meat, you know, and with his rice, you know, with his fork and spoon. And then we sat down and we were a little late already. And then, you know, we started eating. And then all of a sudden I heard, bam, the fork and spoon went down, bam, on the table. And then I was like, whoa, what happened? And I was, you know, quite scared of my father at that time because he was this very tall.
Yeah.
You know, he was like, you know, he was quite imposing. So he slammed down his fork and spoon and he looked up from his plate of rice and meat and then he looked at me. Usually he doesn't ever look at me because, you know, I'm the tiniest one, right? The smallest one. He looked at me and he went, acting is for prostitutes.
Wow.
And then I went, prostitutes? I just remember that was my first introduction to the word prostitute. I think I was 5, right? And I looked up and my mother looked up at me and then we stared down at our rice and our meat and we didn't say another word. And then he picked up his fork and spoon and he looked up at my mother and he said, except if you're on General Hospital. Then maybe you can be a real actor. Then he started eating his. And I still remember that. Wow. I remember that because, you know, from the age of 5 till 18, right, my dad never came to see any of my shows. And I did many professionally out there, you know, in the stage or at a TV taping or anything. He never came because he disapproved. But I remember him saying that about General Hospital.
That's amazing.
And now, you know, it didn't really strike me when I was on the show with you in 2015 because, you know, I came in once a year, like, you know, but then recently I've been thinking about this incident.
It's meant to be.
You know, I've just been thinking, why am I sitting here talking to you? And how did this seed get planted when I was 5? How did you come to my atmosphere, even though you were probably doing something else when you know, at that time, right? 1980?
Yeah.
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 Or not even 77, 78. I don't know, 1980.
I graduated
Yeah.
in 81,
Yeah.
high school. Acting wasn't even in my orbit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, what's funny, that story you had, I had a similar story, but in an opposite way. My dad, God rest his soul, my mom was the one who knew what I knew, but nobody else did in my hometown. It was like, you know, oh, he's a model, now he failed that, now he wants to be an actor, yeah, right. Now he's in a mental institution, and now he got out of the mental institution, he's not gonna make it now, and this and that. But my mom always knew it's weird how we had that thing. Now my dad, I love my dad, I love him to death. I don't mean that in that way, but he was more like, when are you gonna do it?
Yeah.
Right? Like okay. So one time I brought him a play that I did a review, and he looked at it and he kind of didn't do anything. I said, "Why don't you?" He goes, well, I said, Dad, what's I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I said, and then a soap opera was on the TV. And I said, Dad, you know what? If I were on a soap opera, then you would think I'm great.
Yeah.
But you don't understand that theater is respected.
Mm.
And that was the turning point, because I saw tears in his eyes. Because he said, I know in his head, he's like, okay. And from then on, it was like my mom and dad were like equal to me. My brother didn't, but that's another story for another thing. I love my brother, but anyway. Oh man, you got me off track here, bro.
No, man, we're totally on track. That's exactly what we should have been talking about, and we talked about it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You have 5-6 languages, right?
I know about 5. Yeah.
Okay. I want you to say in each language.
Okay.
I love Sunny Corinto.
Okay. 我爱你, Sunny Corinthos.
Mm.
我爱你, Sunny Corinthos. So the first one was Mandarin, second
Okay.
one was Cantonese. Okay. I very sayang you, Sunny Corinthos. And that is Singlish, all right, which is English but spoken Singaporean style, which
Okay.
has had Malay in it and some Chinese dialects thrown in. Yeah, so it's it's a different flavor altogether.
Wow.
Yeah, a country that's I think not so in the radar yet,
Yeah.
but will be.
Wow.
Has already started with Crazy Rich Asians, but will be more so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's amazing. So
Okay, I can say in Hokkien too.
yeah.
我真suka le Sunny Corinthos. That's more like I really like you. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, all right, that's it.
And then you got to say it in English.
Oh, I have to say in English, I really love you, Sunny.
Wow. All right. So when you were young, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that I'm going to get this right or wrong, but that's fine. You can help me. Somebody said that you were gifted, dynamic, and talented,
Oh, yeah.
and you had the gift of gab.
Gift of the gab.
Of the
yeah.
gab.
Because they were Irish, British. So they were it was given to me by two Irish nuns from Cork, Ireland, who were my first speech and drama teachers at the age of 6. Yeah. They were the Healy sisters.
And they saw something in you?
That was so weird. Yeah. Yeah. I bless their soul. I'm glad they did because I would have ended up a criminal probably in Singapore.
Wow.
Remember how you were talking about
yeah.
I would have been the worst type of criminal in Singapore. But thank God for acting. So, the Healy sisters, who were these two Irish nuns from Cork, Ireland, came to Singapore as teaching nuns. And they headed this institute. Well, not an institute. It was an all-girls school called Convent of the Holy Infant Jesus, Katong Convent. And in Katong Convent, we were very famous for our speech and drama department. And I was, part of that whole thing.
So by them saying that, that gave you the or did you already have the confidence?
It gave me like kind of a warden's pass, like a
Right.
like a hall pass.
Yeah.
To already to do something that I really wanted to do, but like I got a little bit of a reprieve, a little bit of like a nod to say it's okay. And at that time it was big because they were. I'm gonna be truthful here, and I'll just talk plainly, right? At that time in Singapore, Caucasian people were regarded in a much higher way than people of color because the British were the ones that colonized Singapore. So anybody that was Caucasian was looked up to. So being given that permission and the acknowledgement by two Irish nuns from Ireland who were white as white actually made it even more legit for me back then. Yeah.
So if you had, we're similar but not similar. It's like I was brought up that anybody with authority figures is way up on a pedestal.
Yeah, I did too. I was from Singapore. We're like all about the law. Yeah.
Yeah. And even for you, Caucasian.
Yeah.
So when you came to LA,
yeah,
and you auditioned, did you put these people up?
Wow. Wow, I was
because that would.
I was effed up for so many
Yes.
years. You wouldn't even begin to like. In fact, I'm still effed up from it. But now at least I can take a breather. I can look back and go. I can count to 10, like how you would say. I can count to 10 and go, oh, okay, something's happening here. It may not be. It's a mirage. It's a truth, but it's only a form of truth for me. It's not the truth.
Yes.
It's what I'm conditioned. So take a breath, step back, and let it pass. And I usually do.
So when you because this is where we're very similar.
Yeah.
So when you walk in the room, they're so high up that you can't do a great performance, right?
Yes.
Before.
Yes, there was that, certainly. There was that.
For a long time,
For
right?
a long time. And then I started to medicate myself on how to turn the situation around. And I did it for myself.
How?
The psychosis for myself. Playing games with the people in the room, whatever, making it something other than just that. Just because you're that. I was like, oh, you're that, but there's also this and that and this and that.
I like that.
Yeah, and let me try that. And then I did. I was able to circumvent it to make it work for me. Not always, though. There have been, still circumstances,
Right.
situations, right? And I don't think I'll ever grow out of it because, I think I'm.
That's embedded in you.
Yeah,
right?
I think so. Yeah, yeah, it's in me. Yeah.
It's like with me, I just like I got to play Desi Arnaz in a TV movie. That was kind of a big deal right after when I was on All My Children, came out here, got this big thing.
Yeah.
But I auditioned 5 times, and 3 times it was bad. It depends how I feel on those other 2 times, that for whatever reason, I felt great. And one of the reasons why I felt great, that's why I got the job, was because after 3 bad ones, I never think I'm going to get it anyway.
Yeah. 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 You surrendered, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
surrendered.
Which is the best.
Yeah, but that process
Yeah.
is very, very difficult, and it's taken me. I don't even know if I'm over it now.
Me too.
You too?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a confession, really.
right?
Yeah, because I was brought up in a society where like discussing all of this only shows your weaknesses. Like what you don't want people to know about you. That's your game, right?
Yeah.
You keep it
Yeah.
hidden, right? I don't really care about that, but you know what I'm
Yes,
saying, right?
yes.
So it's like it's contrary to
Yes.
yeah. But I like getting real. In fact, I feel that's the only way for me now going forward at this point of my life.
Right.
Getting real is probably the only way for me.
It is the only way.
Yeah, it is.
Because
I don't like how it makes me feel a lot of the times, because it makes me feel it brings out the truth, which can be very painful at the very moment, but I believe it's the only way for me now.
The truth
Yeah.
will set you free. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is true. That's why I've been talking for over 30 years about mental health, and I've only seen it change now, and it had to. And I say it all the time, but I'll keep saying it. It's the pandemic. It's changed the awareness of mental health. I'm sorry.
Okay, because it's more okay to talk about it.
Yes,
now?
because the amount of people in trouble, especially during that period, there were people who didn't talk about mental health, who were feeling things that they had to talk. They were closed in. So even for me, I say it, I'll say it again.
Oh my God, you just woke that up in me. Like I didn't even think about it and like make the connection, but you're so right, because everyone is in it. We're all in it.
You can't get,
even if you're healthy or you're whatever, you're in it.
Because
right?
before the pandemic, you just go somewhere, you don't have to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, you're stuck in there. I was stuck in a period of it was 4 months of hell, chaos, torture in my mind. And I've always tried to keep it away from my kids. I couldn't.
Yeah.
We were all in there.
Yeah.
So when dinner time came, here comes Dad. So I couldn't run.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. That's what happened in that pandemic. Now what you see, which is, thank God, you see commercials about mental health, depression, anxiety, a lot more than ever.
Yeah.
Because now we're faced with it, and we can't hide. We can't run.
Good. I mean, good in a way
It is good.
yeah.
It is good. Okay, so can we talk about your situation, or is there a situation that happened with your sister? If you can.
So
I mean, if it's too difficult.
No. So I was just telling you before we
Yes.
were sitting down, and starting. I was just like, I've actually really never talked about this before, because it was something you don't talk
In
about.
your culture,
this.
you don't.
Yeah, we don't talk about this.
Yeah,
We hide it.
Spanish.
Yeah, we bury it. We sweep it. Right, all in the closet, and then we lock it up and throw away the key, right? So it was funny. I actually didn't even think about it much, but when you asked me, I said, yeah, maybe this is really the, and for me, really, what do I know about mental health?
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I didn't. Let me say this before we get into this talk.
Yeah.
The reason I wanted Lydia on State of Mind, she came on the show, we did some stuff, and the fans loved her, man. I was like, what? And I'm on my Twitter feed. It was like, Miss Wu, get Miss Wu on State of Mind. Get Miss Wu on State.
Yeah, you and I, both of us. I was like, hello?
And I was like, what's
Yeah.
the what? Okay.
Yeah.
And then that's why this happened. Now, it's a coincidence that the story she's just going to tell.
But just to bring it back to exactly where you're heading with this, I believe there are no coincidences
I do too, yeah.
in life. And
Yes.
everywhere I've been or am going or am at right now, it's not a coincidence.
I agree.
Right? So I'm sitting in this chair and I'm thinking about, like, I'm on your show today. I'm talking about mental illness, right? Or not, or mental state of mind, right? Really.
Well,
It
that's
could
a
be
good one.
illness, it
I
could
like
be
that.
wellness, it could be anything. And I'm thinking to myself, what can I possibly say on this show that could be useful
Right.
or could resonate a
Yes.
chord with anybody else, which I feel is,
But just you is useful.
oh, thank you. But, you know, I just
Yes.
feel like, you know, and then I think about, actually, I've had a lifetime of it, but from the other end. So I have a sister, and I've not talked about this actually anywhere, who was born with mental illness, and she's never actually been diagnosed until a month ago, and I'll tell you the whole story. She's an elder sister of mine, a very beautiful girl, but she's always had it, and I think now I'm going to bring you back a little further. So on my mother's side, as far as I can remember, or the stories that I've been told, my mother comes from a long line of Dayak women who are like the Aborigine Indonesian women, dark skinned.
Right, right.
You know, they're very wild women. And in the lineage of the women, there's always been, we call it mental illness right now, but I'm starting to understand there was always one different one and the one that we were really made aware of, and I'm bringing this all up because I'm tying it with my sister, was in World War II, when I remember them in whispers telling me about an aunt of mine who had her tongue cut off.
Dang.
By the Japanese, because they didn't want her to talk, because she was, you know, like Cassandra the seer, talking a lot, but she was the one with the foresight or the gift or the mental illness. I was never told much about it, but that was the aunt that we remembered, right? My sister was always slightly different growing up, but she was always kept very well hidden from the rest of what was normal in society. So we never really.
Older or younger?
She was an elder sister of mine. She also had a slight case of polio when she was born.
Oh.
So she had a little bit of a limp going on, you know, which they didn't talk about either. Because I think perfection is a very big thing
Yeah.
in my family.
Yeah.
If it's not perfect,
That's terrible.
don't talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're not perfect, stand aside. Yeah, so that was the kind of that was what I was born into, right? The whole standard of perfection. So she wasn't really talked about a lot because of these things, even though she was a very beautiful child growing up, you know. And I didn't really grow up very much with her because she was much older than me. She was, you know, she grew up with my brother. But so my father kind of, bless his heart, my father has passed on. He was a doctor himself, actually. This is I'm like laying the framework of
Yeah, I love
what
it.
mental illness is
love
like in Asia. So he was a Western doctor, and he was a very much a loved doctor in the neighborhood, right? He looked after generations of the same family. But now that I look back at it, it was all it's very hard to separate, I think, who you are as a person and who you are as a doctor. I'm talking about my father right now.
Right,
So
right.
on the surface, he was a great doctor and he looked after a lot of patients and he was very well regarded. But I think when it came to mental illness, he himself didn't have a clue what to do or how
That's
to,
amazing.
you know, as a doctor
Yeah, that's
himself. Now that I'm
amazing.
looking back, and he reacted from what he was raised to believe. So he
Wow.
kept my sister hidden at home
No.
for the most part. She was never medicated, never diagnosed. Check this out. My sister actually went to university and got a degree in psychology. It took her forever. She went to Canada. And the lucky part was my family was able to afford that for her. Now, if you were poorer, I think in Asia, and you had mental illness, it's a different
Oh no.
story.
It's
You'd be out
just-
on the streets.
That's the war.
Yeah. But I think because my family could look after her in their own way, this is the story that I grew up with, that I know of, which I also feel has its challenges, you know, apart from, you know, being poor and having mental illness. I think that's the ultimate blow.
That's the
Even
worst.
worse, right?
Yes.
No reach, right?
No, you
No
can't.
help whatsoever.
Nothing.
Right. So my dad pretty much kept her, and maybe that was his way of, it's hard for me to talk about this because I have a lot of guilt associated with this. Even though even if you think about it and you're looking at right, Mo, you're going, what guilt? What do you have to do with sibling guilt? I have a lot of guilt looking back, and I've been looking back at this topic a lot recently. One of them being because I did a movie where I played
Paper Tiger.
a mother who had a son who had mental illness, and she had to make a very important decision. Well, not important, a very a tragic decision. And I thought about that a lot, and I thought about my own life with my sister, and so back to my sister. So she was actually really okay. She kind of I think she controlled a lot of her own mental illness herself. She tried to keep it hidden. My sister herself,
How did
because she
she?
saw how people reacted to it
Yeah.
as she grew up.
But what did you see that made you say there's something off?
Hallucinations. She'd be
Oh,
talking to herself in the corner.
So you're talking schizophrenia,
She has schizophrenia.
bipolar?
She has bipolar. I'm not sure about the bipolar because my own experience, I haven't.
It's mania.
Yeah, she has that, but mainly it's schizophrenia. She was born with schizophrenia.
I have bipolar, obviously, but schizophrenia is the top.
And manic. She'd be manic, but she,
But
I think-
very genius, very smart, or not. Usually,
not in the scholastic.
no,
intellectual way, but in her own way.
yes.
She was special in her own way. But
Okay.
in Singapore, back when we were growing up, special and individual in your own way were bad things.
So
Yeah.
she was she was kept hidden.
She was sheltered by my family very much. It was almost like if I look back at it, she had a very privileged mental illness life. Her mental illness was allowed to flourish. I hate to use the word flourish, but was allowed to manifest itself without any medication or any medical help. They didn't take her to the hospital because back then in Singapore, to take your child to the hospital, there's only one place, and it was called Woodbridge. All right, I know it's the name of a winery here, but in Asia, it has very bad connotations. And it's really, it's anywhere from someone who has mild depression to someone who's sociopathic killer. It's like one hospital for everyone.
Right,
So you didn't take your daughter there. All right. I mean, I understood why my dad didn't. Anyway, now that I look back at it, so she was never treated. She was kind of like, now that I look back at it, her mental illness manifested itself, right?
Yes.
At its own pace, without any medical help, without any intervention, and.
But she had to have been in so much torture.
Yes.
In her mind.
Oh yes.
In her body.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. Yeah. And I think what was really difficult for my sister was she was really on the cusp. I hate to say like, oh, had she been treated earlier, she would have made in Singapore they like to call it a reset button. Like, you get back to base level, get back to reset. But when you have something that's gone on for, more than 10, 20, 30, 40 years, it's hard to get back to base. What is base? Maybe you've never had a base, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm bringing all this up is it's very funny that I'm even sitting in this chair is, so my mother is going to be 87. My dad has passed on 16 years ago, and he was really the patriarch of the family. When he died, you know how things fall apart. The center cannot hold.
Yeah.
That wonderful. It's like my whole family fell apart when my dad died because he was the center, and the holes just were made very apparent when the patriarch died. Like where the holes, were. My sister continued to live with my mother, and then until recently now, my mother is kind of in ailing health, very frail, kind of, in the last couple of years. She's, slowly transitioning on her way out. And my brother and I are looking at my sister going, what can we do for my sister now at this point? It's very funny I'm talking about all this because it's like the patriarch's decision has kind of stood with us since then and now, even though he's gone, right?
Yeah.
But, he's the father of my sister, right? And, I've never actually questioned anything more than that. But now that my mother is, and my sister also has been going through, when you have mental illness, it also goes with your trajectory in life. Now that she's older and she's, You know,
Yes.
she's in the latter years of her life. Her mental illness has become worse, has manifested
Of
itself into
course.
violence and, you know, different. So the last trip that I was back in Singapore, we actually had to do an intervention. I actually had to take her.
You did?
We had to, yeah.
But how'd that go? Not good.
Uh,
Or
on many levels, I can only speak about it from different levels. As the person who did the intervention, I didn't feel good about it because I was part of a lying, complicit, we set her up, to be brought in.
but
She
that's
would
what
never have gone in.
right.
We set her up. So I told a few white lies. Did that make me feel good? No.
But
Did-
I watch intervention every almost every day here on TV,
yeah,
and that's what you got to do.
I know.
But
Yeah.
they, and
I did it. Yeah.
they get angry,
Yeah.
right?
I did it. I lied to her. I got her in the thing, and I got her there, and she stayed there for a whole month, and I got her there. And now, for the first time, she's properly diagnosed. That's the first time, like the first. A lot of things came out of that. Yeah, and also I had to deal with my mother, another sort of lying, because we had to get her out of the house and get my sister committed, right? So I had to lie to my mother in a way. So we took her out, and she knew something was up, but I had to play. So how did that make me feel? It made me feel lousy, man. That I was lying to my mother. I was,
Yeah.
setting up. I was setting up all the tricks in the house, trying to get the. It didn't make me feel good. For that part, I'm
Yes.
just be honest.
That's
It
of
made,
course, of course
yeah,
it
it made me
doesn't.
feel like a piece of shit doing
Of
that. But
course.
was there a light? At the
But
end
the
of the tunnel?
reward is
Yeah,
help.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's now she's getting help.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
now, oh man,
yeah. It was
now she may feel a bit of happiness.
Yeah, I told somebody, it was interesting that you said that. I said now she has a real fighting chance. That's
Yes.
my word for it. She never had a fighting chance, right? Now she's got a fighting chance.
That's right.
And if it all goes back to where it was, at least we tried.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because the problem is with I get people always sending me things and the letters and whatnot. The problem is you can't if somebody over 18 doesn't want help, you can't force them to get help.
No, and in Singapore especially, we just found out about all these things. It's very much pro for them. The laws are, protecting them. So you can't just force anybody to.
No.
No, yeah, you can't medicate them on the sly either,
No.
or any of that stuff. Yeah.
I went through the similar thing when they put me into the men's institution. My mom, it was the morning, and they were doing all kinds of stuff, and I was fucked up, my mind. But I knew what they were doing. And I let them. But I didn't let them think that I knew.
Wow.
So they took me in the car, and they had me sit on my brother's, I don't know, somebody's lap, so I wouldn't see where I was going, but I knew where I was going. But I let them think that I'm like, where are we going? Where are we going?
Why, Mo?
Because when you're in that state of mind, no pun intended, you're gonna do it to the end. And I see Kanye West now.
Yeah.
I know he's going through another manic episode. I mean, that's my opinion. Could be wrong, but I've been right on his manic episodes in the last years. And it's that when you're in that thing, you're going to be in that thing to the end. And then they took me to the hospital, and then I act up in there. But I kind of know what's happening, but you're still acting up because you really can't control those feelings.
Yeah.
Ah, man.
Yeah.
Lydia Look came in here, and it was fun and great, but I learned so much about her culture, about her upbringing. I was fascinated, and it was just great. I just don't know what to say. I'm literally wiped out though. That's why I had to end this. You
I
know,
have
so
that effect on men. No, I'm just kidding. I just feel I had to say that line because it's like a tag to that.
but it's a good wiped out because I know.
Is it really?
You know why
Okay,
it's a
I
good?
didn't wipe you out in a
No,
bad way.
not a bad one.
I don't want to be.
You know why it's a good wiped out?
You know what they call the vampire, the chi robber. Have you
Oh,
heard of, yeah, people who rob other people's chi all the time. We call them chi robbers.
I
You
love
know,
the
yeah,
chi
chi
robbers.
robbers. Yeah, I hope I'm not that.
No, it's
Yeah,
not that.
'cause that's the last thing I want to be.
The
Yeah,
reason it's a good wiped out is because when I'm doing these interviews,
yeah,
I can kind of know through what you're saying the amount of people you're helping.
yeah,
And different interviews are different. I mean, you're gonna everybody helps people, but
yeah,
there's just some people's story I know. Wow, there's somebody in Singapore right now.
yeah. That would be great.
Okay,
That would be
a little
great.
girl
Yeah,
who has an older sister
yeah. That would be great.
who maybe will watch this and say to the older sister, maybe you need to. Doesn't matter what the parents say. You maybe we can go together. Maybe I can make a call. Maybe
Yeah,
that's what it's about. That's what I felt here. Okay,
yeah.
and that's what happens when I'm
Yeah,
talking.
because there really is no one solution for
No,
all of this. You
no.
know, every family has their own turn. You know, every family has their own groove. You
Yeah,
know, and I mean, for me, really, seriously, I just wish I knew more when I was growing up. Then I would have made better decisions, not just for myself, but for her or
yes,
for the people
yeah,
around me. But my decisions were always just fraught with fear,
yeah.
or from other people's fear, other
Right,
people's
right.
fear,
I'm into
which was
that.
the worst.
Yeah,
I was like, what is, that's not
right,
even my fear. But then, you know, I inherited just because I'm in the way, you know, and I'm, you know, it's the way. That's the way they do it.
right. The way.
The way, yeah. Some of those ways need to be snipped.
Yeah, you get.
Yeah, they're
There are other ways.
not good ways. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
I'm sorry, Mo. You all right?
yeah, I'm good. Thank you.